those things up there on your paper. Y-intercept should be pretty easy. You just look up there and get it. On this test, we will not have the imaginary numbers. We're going to save that for after we finish everything. So imaginary numbers won't be on this test. Factoring, the graphing like this, finding all those things, and finding maximums and minimums. And the zeros of the functions will be the only things on this test. And then this is 5 points of the test, so you all should be able to get one of the 5 points by just looking at it. We can actually do a table on your calculator if you use the y equals and then you go second table, so you'd be able to do that on there. So what's my y-intercept up here? 3. Remember, y-intercept is always the number by itself at the end with no x behind it. Okay, or it's your c and your, this is an a, that's a b, this is an a, this is a b, and that's a c. Y-intercept is always your c. How do you find the axis of symmetry? What's the formula? X equals negative b over 2a. So then it would be negative. You guys notice, you got to remember this. There's a negative in the formula, but what's in front of the 6 as well? A negative. So a negative, negative 6, eventually we'll turn that to a positive 6. Okay? And then over 2, and then what's a up here? 2. So then it'd actually be a 6 over a 4, which turns into a 3 over 2, which if you want to turn that to a decimal would be 1.5. Okay, so the axis of symmetry is at 1.5. How do I find the vertex now on this? Yep, so put the 1.5 in your calculator. And then spit out an answer. And I'll do that quick here. What do we get for an answer when you plug in 1.5? Do we get negative 1.5? Yes. Okay. So negative 1.5. Okay, that's the vertex. Okay, and then we want to make a table, so I know 1.5 would be here, which gives me negative 1.5. Okay, and then I need to graph a couple more points, so let's pick points on each side of there. So what are some numbers on each side of 1.5? 2 is on this side, and what's on this side? 1, and then 3 and 0. And again, if you wanted to do, since we're making a table, what's a shortcut on your calculator? Instead of plugging all those in, where can I go?
Second table.
Second table, go to y equals first, yep, and then plug in the equation, then yes, second table. So go to y equals, we can type in 2x squared minus 6x plus 3, and then go second table. And then I can actually get my numbers there. So it'd be 0 and 3, yep, so there, I actually have them all for me. Now they don't have 1.5 in here, but they have 1 and 2, right? Which are -1 and -1. So then from that table, I have a -1 here and a -1 here, and then a 3 here and a 3 here. Are these symmetric? Okay, and they are. So now I got my table. And the last thing is we want to find the x-intercepts. Now, let's actually graph this quick here first, and then I want to show you one other thing. Okay, so if I graph this, it crosses at 3 for the y-intercept. Okay, axis of symmetry is at 1.5. So 1.5 would be in the middle of this. Okay, you go x equals 1.5. And then I gotta find the vertex. Well, what's the vertex? -1.5, right? So right here. Is this a smiling parabola or a frowning parabola? Smiling. Okay, so then it would cross here at 1.5 comma -1.5. And then I can plot all my other points from my table over there. So 1, -1, 2, -1, and then if I go over 3, it's up 3. And aren't these symmetric, same distance here to here? Okay, yep, and then I can just connect them. Now, can I find the exact value right now of those using my calculator? And we can. So everyone go to your calculator and go to y equals and make sure that equation is in there. Okay, are the x-intercepts perfect, or are the zeros of the function perfect? They don't cross perfectly, right? What numbers are they in between here? Do you see how the sign changed from here to here? So my one answer is going to be between 0 and 1, and where's my other answer going to end up being? Between 2 and 3. So once you have your equation in your calculator, you can hit zoom 6, so it goes back to your normal window. Okay, how do you calculate the x-intercepts? We're going to go second what? Calculate. Which one of these words is the x-intercept? The 0 of the function. So go to 0 and hit enter. Left bound. What does left bound mean? To be to the left of where it crosses the x-axis. So if you don't know which is left, take your cursor and put it on the x-axis, and then click the left arrow a couple times and hit enter. Okay, then it says right bound, so click the right arrow until it crosses the x-axis. Hit enter, and then guess, hit enter. So what's one of my x-intercepts here? 0.633. Okay, so 0.63 is 1. Is 0.63 between 0 and 1? Yep. How do you find the other one then? We're going to go again. Second, calculate the 0 of the function. Okay, left bound. So we got to go to this other one. So if you don't know which way is left, again, put the cursor on there and click the left arrow a couple times and hit enter. Right bound, click the right arrow until it crosses the x-axis, because that's the 0 of the function. And then hit enter, and then hit enter again. And we get what, 2.36, so we'll go 2.4. So there's my two crossings. There's a second question on the test that you don't have to do all this stuff. The next question on the test says, just find the zeros of the function using your calculator. So you're going to have to use your calculator and do one of those. Okay, so we won't do another one of those. I'm going to jump to the factoring ones here for the last 5 minutes. Okay, so let's factor. So the question here just says to factor. So the direction would be just to factor. So x squared will go minus 15, and then plus 2x. Okay? So I want you guys to factor that on your paper. So what times what gives me the first term? X times x gets me to x squared for the first term up here. If you ain't first, you're what? Last. So what times what gives me 15? 5 times 3. Okay? What's the final thing you check every time?
The
The OI. So the outside here gives me how much? 3x. The inside here gives me how much? 5x. Am I adding or subtracting to get to my middle term? Will these subtract to give me a positive 2x?
No, you have to flip them.
Or what's the sign's got to be? Yep, so which one? The 3 is what? Negative. 5 is
Wait, can you
positive.
have them the other way in there, in the parentheses?
Yep, the 3 could be here and the 5 could be here, yep.
Alright, 'cause that's-
Yep, so the 3 is negative. Just as long as your 5 over here is positive, is your 5 here positive? Okay, and then the 3 would have to be negative there. Okay, and then that would be factored. And again, how can I check to make sure I did it fully correct? Foil it back out and it should get me back to my original. So when it says factor, do I need an answer like x equals something, or is this good? That's good. Okay, let's try another factoring problem. Let's go with this. 6x squared plus 18x. I want you to factor that. How many terms are up here on this one?
Oh, you only have one set of parentheses.
Yes, do you guys see how there's only 2 terms? So we gotta just take out something in common, which it means just one set of parentheses on this one. And take out the biggest number possible. So what number goes into both of those? A 6. Is there any letters in common? An x. So 6 times what gives me 6? 1, and then x times what gives me x squared? X. Okay, plus sign comes down. 6 times what gets me to 18? 3, and then nothing else, right? And then that would be factored. Okay, let's just say I change the directions to factor and solve, or just solve. What would you do from this step? Yep, so now it'd be 6x equals 0, and then x plus 3 equals 0. So then x equals 0 and negative 3. And those would be where it crosses the x-axis.
Someone say something funny.